Welcome into College Football Breakdown with Joe Lisi. Find him on Twitter at GoForThe2. He is 25-14 on the year, absolutely killing it against the spread off of a 4-1 week last week. Joe, how you feeling? Making some money, huh?
Yeah, hanging in there, Drew. Looking forward to a great week number 10 of the college football season. We have some great marquee battles chomping at the bit for this coming Saturday.
Yeah, it looks like you've honed in on three 3:30 Eastern matchups here. We'll start off with Wake Forest versus Notre Dame. Looks like Notre Dame's laying 13.5 at BetOnline, laying 14 at 5 dimes right now on the SBR odds screen. So this is a good one to shop around. 55 the total at Chris. This one can be seen on NBC, 3:30 Eastern time. How you betting the Irish versus Wake Forest?
Yeah, I've been on the wrong side of the Irish the last few weeks, but I feel I have a good pulse on this game. I like Wake Forest. Couple of factors. Notre Dame coming off a very dominating home win over NC State last week. They do have the Miami Hurricanes on deck in week number 11, but this is a red-hot Wake Forest team that did pick up a 42-32 win over Louisville last Saturday. They put up 625 yards of total offense on Louisville's defense, and more importantly, really contained Lamar Jackson in that offense, holding Louisville to 191 rushing yards on the ground. They gave up a 55-yard touchdown run with about 55 seconds left in that ballgame, so they're used to facing mobile quarterbacks. You look at their quarterback, John Wolford. He threw for 461 yards last week, 5 touchdowns, 4 of them to Greg Dortch that did have 10 receptions, 167 yards and 4 touchdowns. He will not play in this ball game, but I don't think it matters. I look at Wake Forest. I look at the experience of John Wolford. He's completed 62% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,660 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. To me, I think he'll make the right decisions. And more importantly, when you look at Wake Forest overall against the better teams in the ACC, you look at them against Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Clemson, they lost those 3 games by 11.6 points per game. I mean, I think that's the difference. I think they're a gutty team. I think they'll be able to keep this game close. And when you look at Notre Dame's defense overall, they're allowing 232 passing yards to opposing offenses. I like John Wolford. I like the experience of this team. And I think they lose a close ball game, 34-30 over Notre Dame this coming weekend.
All right, so on the Demon Deacons, plus 14, can get that number at 5 dimes right now. Another 3:30 kick here. In the Big Ten, we got Northwestern versus Nebraska. Interesting line movement here. Some sports books taking opinion with UWager favoring Northwestern minus 1.5. All the way on the other end of the spectrum, a flip favorite, BetDSI, has the Cornhuskers minus 2.5. 52.5 the total. This one can be seen on the Big Ten Network. Joe, who do you side with? UWager or BetDSI? How you looking to bet this one?
Yeah, I've been all over Northwestern in recent weeks, and they haven't disappointed with back-to-back victories over Iowa and Michigan State. They picked up a 39-31 win in Evanston in overtime. Really like the way their quarterback Clayton Thorson's playing within the system. Completed 33 of 48 passes, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They're going on the road in Memorial Stadium against a team in Nebraska that's been very inconsistent this year. They won that matchup 25-24 over Purdue. They're a 4-4 team heading into this ball game, but I really think it comes down to the front 7 of Northwestern over the last 6 games. Drew, against Bowling Green, Wisconsin, Penn State, Maryland. You look at Iowa and Michigan State, this front 7 of Northwestern is allowing only 94.8 rushing yards per game. You look at Nebraska's offense over the last couple of weeks now, they're only averaging 42 rushing yards per game. I think Northwestern makes Nebraska one-dimensional in this ballgame, forces them into 3rd down and long situations, and I really feel that Northwestern is a confident team heading into this ballgame. I think Northwestern continues this run, and they win a 10-point ballgame over the Cornhuskers this Saturday.
All right, so you can get that number plus 2.5 on Northwestern at DSI right now. Another 3:30 kick. We got Iowa State, West Virginia. You've been involved with these two teams a couple times this season. Looks like we got West Virginia -2.5 right now, 60.5 the total at Penny. If you're looking to bet the over, you can go 59.5 at Bet Online. This one on ESPN2 Saturday afternoon. How you looking to bet this Big 12 matchup, Joe?
Intriguing Big 12 battle. I've been on Iowa State all year. I picked them last week. They didn't disappoint. They got a 14-7 win over TCU. And I was against West Virginia with Oklahoma State last week. But I really think that this matchup favors West Virginia in this ballgame. They've won the last 3 meetings over Iowa State by 22.3 points per game. They have a solid quarterback in Will Grier that's completing 62% of his passes, 2,752 yards, 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And when you look at Iowa State's defense as a whole, Drew, they're allowing 220 passing yards to opposing offenses. On the road or on a neutral field site, they're allowing 274 passing yards. They're allowing 42% on third down conversions. I think that's the matchup that you want to see West Virginia take. They want to strike first and put the pressure on Iowa State's quarterback, Kyle Kemp, to match them score for score, and that's where I give the advantage to West Virginia. When you look at Kyle Kemp overall, he's completing 66% of his passes, 859 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, playing well in the system. But this is an Iowa State offense that isn't running the football consistently. In now 5 games against Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas Tech, and TCU, they're only rushing for 91.6 yards on the ground. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the passing attack. If Will Grier jumps up early, I think that's the recipe to force Iowa State out of their game plan. I'm calling for the double-digit win. West Virginia with a 36-23 victory over Iowa State. Cinderella ends this coming Saturday in Morgantown. Not to take away from what Matt Campbell has done, but West Virginia does get a gutty 13-point win at home this coming Saturday.
Yeah, tough road trip here for the Cyclones. And Joe, one thing I'm noticing, so you're on West Virginia this week. You faded them last week against the team in Iowa State that you bet last week. Does that I'm guessing that doesn't happen a lot, where you fade a team, then bet on them against a team that you just bet on the week before. Am I wrong?
It goes down to matchups for me. When I really break down this matchup from a speed advantage, I think West Virginia is the superior team, and the way you have to attack Iowa State is against their secondary, and they're on the road. I mean, they've played very well at home, and they did knock off Oklahoma. A couple of factors as well. You could throw in the fact this is their only 3rd turf game of the season. That should be a factor as well. West Virginia is a speed team. They're playing at home, so that's why I favor West Virginia, and I'm fading Iowa State at this point in the season, especially since they've had a big run now from the Vegas angle. People didn't expect them to beat Oklahoma. They didn't disappoint. Now they've been on a little bit of a run. I'm jumping off. I think the better team here is West Virginia.
All right, no, good breakdown. It's sitting at 25-14 overall year to date against the number. I'm not stepping in front of your picks, that's for sure, Joe. All right, moving on to the 7:30 Eastern night slate. We got Minnesota versus Michigan in the Big Ten. Looks like Michigan's laying 15.5 pretty much across the board. Little opinion in the total with Chris hanging a 40.5. 41 pretty much everywhere else on SBR odds right now. This one on Fox. Joe, how you betting it?
Well, Michigan has looked lackluster in recent weeks. They got a 21-point win over Rutgers, but from a series perspective, since 2011, the Wolverines are 4-1 over Minnesota and have won those games by 28 points per game. They won this matchup in 2015 by a score of 29-26. You look at Michigan last week, they rushed for 334 yards on the ground against the Scarlet Knights. But you look at that quarterback, Brandon Peters, that jumped in for John O'Korn. He completed 73% of his passes, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. You look at Michigan's rush offense over the last 3 games. They have now 9 touchdowns. That's 3 rushing touchdowns per game. This is a Michigan offense that's averaging 193 passing yards per game and only averaging 182 rushing yards heading into this matchup. But I like the way the offensive line played last week, and I think it'll continue this coming Saturday. Defensively for the Wolverines, They're only allowing 104 rushing yards on the ground and 153 passing yards to opposing offenses. They held Rutgers to 3 of 11 on third down conversions. They're holding opposing offenses to 23% on third downs. And if you take out that Penn State performance on third downs on the season, Michigan has held opposing offenses to 21 of 99 third down conversions. That's 21%. They have 27 sacks heading into this ball game. They're going up against a Minnesota team. It's back-to-back road games for Minnesota, and you look at the passing offense for the Golden Gophers over the last couple of games. They've only completed 14 of 44 passes. That's 31%, 186 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Michigan is due for a breakout. It comes Saturday night. I do feel they do get a convincing 28-point victory over Minnesota this coming weekend.
All right, Joe. So laying it with the Wolverines in that one, minus 15.5 right now at SBR odds. And on the 8 o'clock slate, we got LSU versus Alabama, 48.5 the total. Alabama laying 3 touchdowns, minus 21, pretty much across the board. This one on CBS, 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff. How you betting the SEC marquee matchup this week, Joe?
Well, let's throw out the statistics. Since 2011, Alabama's won 6 straight over LSU by 12.8 points per game. They're 5-0 in SEC play this year, Alabama is, and has won those games by 39.2 points per game. But I really think the week off benefits the LSU Tigers. This is an LSU offense that has been balanced in recent weeks. They're rushing for 216 yards on the ground, passing for 201 yards through the air. They do have a senior quarterback in Danny Etling. He's completed 60% of his passes, 1,452 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. But this is a rushing offense now over the last 3 weeks that seems to be getting better. Against Florida, Auburn, and last week, 2 weeks ago, against Ole Miss, they're averaging 255 rushing yards per game. They put up 393 against the Ole Miss Rebels. And when you look at the defense of LSU heading into this matchup, that's where I think they have the advantage. This is an LSU Tigers defense that's allowing 173 passing yards per game. On the year, Drew, they've only allowed 5 passing touchdowns. Over the last 4 games, LSU has only allowed 1 passing touchdown during this 4-game stretch. So I think that'll factor into this ball game. They'll be able to keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket. Here's another statistic as well. Over the last 3 games in terms of third down defense, LSU's held opposing offenses to 8 of 35 on third down conversions. I like that statistic. And more importantly, sacks. Over the last 3 games, LSU has recorded 11 total sacks. Arden Key's been stepping up and looks like 2016 form. LSU does not fear Alabama. That's the one thing that you could say about teams taking the field about the Alabama Crimson Tide is that they're defeated before they even step out on the field. LSU will not fear Alabama and Nick Saban. I think they get the outright win. I'm calling for the upset. I said it on Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I said it with Game Time Decisions host Gabe Morency, 24-21. LSU gets the victory in Tuscaloosa this coming Saturday.
Bam, calling for the 3-touchdown underdog to go into Tuscaloosa and come out victorious. For record-keeping purposes, Joe is on LSU plus 21. But side note, he thinks that they can win this game outright. I like it, and the balls to pick it at Go for the 2. That's where you can find Joe Lisi on Twitter. And your website there, Joe, goforthe2.com. Good stuff on there. Anything else before we close it out, Joe?
Nah, I just can't wait to see how these games play out. This is why we watch the best game in town each and every Saturday. Full throttle ahead from the start to the finish. Doesn't get better than this.
Absolutely, Joe. And we'll see you next week. For Joe Lisi, I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.